Trump has broken his silence about the expropriation of land in South Africa, and that led to him cutting all the funding or future funding to South Africa. This is not only the US aid, each and every funding, he said it is off at the moment for South Africa. At this point of time, I feel like AfriForum is so happy, joyful about this whole shenanigan that is coming from Trump administration, because the same AfriForum went to the United States to complain about South African bill, which is the land expropriation law from the fundings or future funding. Dumela Kazi, welcome back to the Cafe. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are returning Sabi, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Without wasting any more time, let's get into this video. Okay, for my previous video, someone was complaining about me talking about a lot of things at once, and it was a lot of things, and you know what? We having a conversation here, and I'm allowed to talk anything that I want to talk on each and every video. If you don't like it, that means you're not supposed to be here. We cannot be discussing anything with you. If you've got a listening span of 2 seconds, go to TikTok. You will get a short form video over there. Obviously the style on YouTube is not your thing, and also YouTube has got YouTube Shorts. You can also check out YouTube Shorts. Unfortunately, I don't really do YouTube Shorts. You can go there because the style of videos that I do over here, it is not your style. So I'm doing a conversation. I'm not reading news. I'm not an anchor. I'm not a news anchor. So I'm not reading news. So we're talking about the Trump issue here. Donald Trump came out guns blazing, saying that South Africa, there's some things that are happening here in South Africa that is targeting certain people of class, which if you understand what is going on in South Africa, you know that this has been directed to white people. So that means there's some atrocious things that are happening towards white people in South Africa. Obviously, Trump thinks that the black government is taking land from white people, which is the land expropriation. He doesn't say anything that has to do with this land issue. I don't think he read anything that has to do with this bill. I don't think he knows anything else other than what he got from AfriForum. Even though AfriForum says that obviously we had spoken with Trump, we've got a very good relationship with Trump, but I don't think everything that is happening right now, it is because of the land issue and all of those things. We understand that the US aid has been cut off in many countries, in all countries that were receiving the US aid, but when it comes to this direct one that Trump said, this is the making, and this is the pressure that Trump also got from AfriForum, because obviously those are his people. Those are people that are following him. Those are people that are sharing him and all of those things. Let me let you watch this video.
Things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
So with regards to land issue, as I said before on my video, I do not trust the ANC with this land issue at all. I think they are trying to gain some support that they lost during the elections. So whatever is happening from now on when it comes to this land issue, I still won't trust it until I see that things are happening accordingly. We are not in a state whereby everybody must do whatever they want because they are sitting up there in the government institutes. So from now on, I'm just gonna keep an eye and see what is going on with this land issue, especially when everything goes in full swing. So this is what is happening in the US. If you think that the USA government doesn't expropriate land, or they are unable to expropriate land, then you got it wrong. The problem is the countries like the USA that wants to inflict and push their own ideas and ideologies and their own supremacy in some countries such as South Africa, and that the USA was not going to have any power to push its own supremacy if our own government was not playing soccer with our own votes, right? So if the country like South Africa was able to do things by themselves, if we were able as a government, if the government was able to do things the right way without any corruption, we wouldn't have a situation whereby we don't know what is going to happen to people who are actually receiving these ARVs or whatever assistance with fighting the HIV in these private or the non-profit organizations. We wouldn't have these discussions because we wouldn't want to get aid from any other country. And the country like South Africa would have been able to sustain itself if we didn't have a party like ANC that is just doing all sorts of corruption in the government, money goes missing and all of those things. So the land issue in the USA says, in the United States, eminent domain is the power of a state or the federal government to take private property for public use while requiring compensation to be given to the original owner. It can be legislatively delegated by the state to municipalities, government subdivisions, or even to a private persons or corporation when they are authorized to exercise the function of the public character. So the reason why there's an expropriation of land without compensation, if you ever read this bill and all of those things, I think Trump didn't do that, then he would understand that obviously there would be this expropriation of land, and the land that is not used and it's not utilized in anyhow, why would you pay for that land? You have this land, you just kept this land and you are doing nothing with the land. Why would you try to hold on to that land if you're not using that land, when we have a very painful history of land that was taken away from people that owned this land long time ago? This thing will make it so difficult, even though in the same breath, I say I don't trust the ANC with the land issue. They just gunning for their points in order for them to get more votes because of this land issue. I mean, they have won the heart of Mbuyiseni Ndlozi already. He was ranting, or he wrote on his Twitter. I will make a video about it, about this whole thing, that Cyril Ramaphosa is not really the person that they thought he is. He is actually pro-black and all of those things, right? But I still don't trust the guy. I still don't trust anything that has to do with the ANC. But the US shouldn't come here making themselves as if they are saints, because they have similar similar law that they can go and expropriate land. They can go and expropriate land. There's nothing new. There's nothing new with this expropriation. There's certain laws in each and every country. We are our own country. We are South Africa. We are not the USA. But because the South African government enabled all these shenanigans that are happening, this is what is happening. This is what is happening. Now we're discussing about how are we going to get funding from the USA. What fund? Why should we get this funding? And that funding, in most cases, that funding came and it didn't go to the people as it was that old. Let's say the funding was 20 rands. I don't think it got to people as 20 rands. It got there, it was 5 rands or something. Because obviously, with all the steps that it took, there are people with brown envelopes that were taking that money. I can tell you that one. I can tell you with my eyes closed. This is South Africa that we're talking about. And this is the ANC government that we're talking about. And AfriForum must be so happy at this point of time.
Has built up a massive list and database of friends and allies all across the world, particularly in the United States. And as soon as the Expropriation Act was signed by the president. We all informed them about the facts here in South Africa. So I do hope that we had a massive effect there. I mean, you can't really see everything that happens behind the scenes, but I do think AfriForum had a massive impact.
Okay, so this money, 440 million US dollars in funding for PEPFAR for South Africans living with HIV, is this the consequence you wanted?
I don't think that's particularly what Trump is talking about here. He's cutting off aid to many countries. He's pretty much disabled US aid in total. I think what he's talking about here is increasing punishment on South Africa, particularly regarding the Expropriation Act. And I mean, this has always been AfriForum's stance, that punish the politicians that push through these destructive policies, not the citizens of the country. That's always been AfriForum's stance. You can go check out all of our press statements on it. And I think what Trump is talking about here is future action rather than action that's already been taken.
But that's not what he said, Ernst. He says he wants to have an investigation. That's fine. He said he's cutting it immediately. He said things are happening to people in South Africa, a certain class of people. I presume he's dog whistling there, in fact, to his supporters. You're playing a very dangerous game here, and isn't the consequence that we've lost $440 million for people living with HIV?
Stephen, you are playing a very dishonest game here by saying that that's the direct result of what AfriForum is doing. Our direct result is getting under the president's attention the Expropriation Act. He was going to cut off aid to dozens of countries all across the world anyway. What he's talking about here is additional measures to combat particularly expropriation without compensation. The dangerous game is not AfriForum. The dangerous game is the South African government passing laws that directly attack private property rights in this country. And also the dangerous game is the South African government having 141 race laws on the books. Just 20 minutes ago, Elon Musk made a tweet responding to President Ramaphosa, asking him in his words, why does South Africa have openly racist laws? And Elon Musk is 100% on the money. That's the dangerous game. That's what needs to stop. And I'm very glad that the world is taking notice, finally.
Clearly, they are happy. They are really, really happy because we are in this mess because of their own thing as well on their side. If they are saying that they are pro-South Africa and all of those things, why do they have to bring all these people, the outsiders in the country's issues? The people that they're talking about, obviously the AfriForum is always speaking in riddles. They will never directly say white people. They are fighting for white people, and that is okay. That is okay.
The second thing is that you have a US president now who talks about a class of people who are being treated very badly. Who do you believe he's talking about?
He's talking about the people in South Africa that are constantly attacked by the politicians for the color of their skin, the minorities that are constantly scapegoated for all the failures of the ANC. He's talking about the minorities that are targeted by the race laws on the books in this country. He's talking about those minorities targeted, for example, by policies or that you saw, for example, in Dis-Chem, where that internal memo leaked a few years ago, where the promotion and hiring of white people was completely barred by under threat from government fines. To try and ignore these realities is to push your head into the sand like an ostrich. They are there. There are people, especially minorities, being targeted in this country by legislation, and the government is open about it in their rhetoric.
You seem to be a little nervous about using the phrase white people. Why don't you just say it, Ernst? It's white people he's talking about in your view, right?
Because it's not just white people, it's many other minority groups in this country as well, in particular white people.
They are fighting for white people. The problem here in South Africa, the people that are going to suffer the most are the people that are suffering right now. The middle class might last for a couple of months. The rich people will take the next flight to live in Switzerland or whatever. But the ones who were really suffering and they did not have anything to do with any laws, anything to do with the money, the corruption that is happening within our country, they will suffer the most. They will suffer the most. They had no say in anything. The white paper of the land expropriation came out. I don't think there's any one poor person who was able to log on to the internet and do and say something about the white paper of the expropriation of land. So they had nothing to do with the whole thing that is happening right now. And those people that were receiving anything from the USA are going to suffer the most, and no one is going to care about them, because obviously this is a fight between two people who are power hungry, or between the power hungry people such as obviously AfriForum, the ANC, the US, everybody that is involved in this whole thing. We know that AfriForum is also fighting for its own good. I mean, they are fighting for their own land. I know AfriForum is owning land. I might be wrong. Owning land in close to Betty's Bay. I would say in Betty's Bay because it is very close to Betty's Bay. So they've got a chunk of hectares of land over there. So they don't want to lose that land. And to tell you if there's anything that is going on in that land, I don't know. And that is the land that might be expropriated because it doesn't have any good use. There's nothing that is happening on that land. So this, if it is done properly, those are the actual hectares that might be taken by our government. I don't trust the government that we have. And I don't trust AfriForum. I don't trust anyone that is actually making the bed warm for the US because I don't trust the US at all. The US is responsible for a lot of trashy stuff that are happening in this world. That's the US. That is the US for you. But yeah, well, the US expropriation of land is new in the US. So that means we are doing things in this, the government is doing things in this country that are very, very, very big. Things that are not supposed to be happening to certain class of people, which are white people. Obviously, Trump has nothing to do with black people. He cares less about black people. So you cannot even, the only thing that I like about Trump is the patriotism in him. But the superiority complex that he has, no ways. No. Anyway, thank you so much for watching till this far. Please do subscribe, like this video, and also comment down below with your own thoughts. I'll see you on my next upload. Have a fantastic one. Peace.